I'm Brooke Erdman, and today I'm talking to Jeff, who's going to share his carnivore journey with us. Hi, Jeff. How are you?
Great. Hi, Brooke. Thank you for having me. Glad to be
Thank,
here.
thank you so much for taking the time to share with our listeners what it's been like for you on the carnivore diet. So, what has it been like for you on the carnivore diet?
Well, I started about 2.5 years ago with some health issues and really trying to do a lot of research to figure out how to fix that. I've struggled with weight my whole life, but about 2.5 years ago, started making some changes, and it's been going pretty good since then.
What were you eating before?
Really just kind of the standard American diet. I mean, occasionally I would try to lose weight using what we're told, low fat, cut the calories, work out like a maniac, and it would always work for a little while, and it just never was sustainable. And really, you start to get discouraged, like, well, maybe this was just the way I was meant to be. Maybe it's genetic. Maybe there's nothing I can really do about it, because as you hear all the time, you lose weight and then it comes back and then some. And that was kind of the story of my life since I was a kid, and it just progressively got worse. But yeah, junk food, pizza, hamburgers, fast food. I had a real sweet tooth, in like the Oreos and cake and cookies and Reese's peanut butter cups, all that stuff. That's terrible for you. Also, kind of enjoyed alcohol probably a little too often, um, and I think there's a linkage there. Probably the same things that get you kind of hooked on sugar also get you hooked on alcohol. That need for that dopamine, I believe. So yeah, in the evenings, alcohol. And then of course, if you drink alcohol, are you going to go to the gym? Probably not. Are you going to make the best food choices? No, you're not. So hand in hand, they just sort of got me a little heavier and a little sicker. So yeah.
And what turned that around? What made you think about the meaty carnivore diet? Was it something you read or?
Yeah, it was kind of an interesting journey, and maybe one that is similar for others. So I had heard, my son is in the army, and he had told me about this warrior diet, which was intermittent fasting. It's a 4-hour window, and he had a little success on that. So I started researching a little bit, and you start Googling and searching YouTube about fasting, intermittent fasting, and I kind of came across um, Jason Fung, right? The obesity code and the diabetes code. But my health was kind of I had been struggling with weight and blood sugar, blood pressure. Um, you know, they had me on statins, which was causing its own set of problems with muscle and body aches, and so really just thinking of man, I'm getting old. I was 48 at the time, and so anyway, I got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and they wanted me to take metformin on top of the blood pressure medicine, on top of the statins, and also having sleep apnea. My weight was around 270, and that wasn't even the highest I've ever been, but that's what it was at the time. So researching, I stumbled across Jason Fung, and the insulin model really spoke to me. Like, okay, this kind of makes sense. My body's trying to store fat, and because of all this sugar I'm putting in there, and that's also why I'm getting hungry. And it just started clicking. And I also read, I read all of Fung's books. I read Gary Taub's books, Good Calorie, Bad Calorie, Why We Get Fat. That led me into understanding, wow, fasting and the low carb way to keep your insulin low makes sense to me. And for the first time, I'm kind of a science nerd, and I'm like, wow, okay, here's something that kind of makes sense. And it gave me a boost of confidence, because I never understood why my body fought me so hard to be sick. But if we lived in prehistoric time where there's feast or famine, my genes would be great because I could put on a lot of weight and handle the famine times. So
perfectly adapted for that.
yeah. So I'm like, okay, well, in this environment, it's not good. And so I started my journey actually trying to do some fasting, some intermittent fasting, and later some extended fasting. And as I was doing that, I was researching and learning more. I thought about keto. I also read the Finney and Volek books
Mm-hmm.
and continued research, and then sort of stumbled across. I think the first carnivore video I saw was an interview of Kelly Hogan,
Mm-hmm.
who is fantastic. I love her
She is
channel now.
fantastic. Yes.
She is great. And then Amber O'Hearn, and then ShawnBaker with the Joe Rogan interview, then the Petersons, and I was like, wow, this sounds pretty good. I don't really love vegetables, and if they're attacking me anyway, so we've been all sold the bill of goods that we have to eat them.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I just continue to research, and then like I said, I did quite a bit of fasting at first, which is a bit aggressive, and I'm not sure in retrospective I needed to do it that aggressively, but it worked, and I lost weight. And but the key really isn't the losing the weight, it's how to stay healthy and maintain it. That's the part I've always struggled with. It comes back.
Yeah, how to nourish yourself.
Yes. So it's really it's about how to find a way that is sustainable, and that's where I fell in love with carnivore, and just being able to eat meat and eat as much as I felt like my body needed. I learned not to fear healthy fats and whole foods, and just switched and took off. And there's times when I'm more strict than others on carnivore. Sometimes but my cheats are always pretty much like, an avocado or an olive or maybe a piece of dark chocolate, 90%. But when I want to get back on track, I jump on to pretty much beef and water, or maybe some I try to have some liver organ meats as well, but I'm not religious about it. But I think that it's probably good insurance policy. So I do some of that, and also seafoods and a little bit of variety, but whole food carnivore for the most part. And if I do cheat, it's going to be whole food keto.
Do you drink coffee?
Yes, I tried cutting it out for a while, but I do enjoy it, and I just don't see much difference when I have it or not. So I indulge in that. I did recently, in the past couple of months, cut out heavy cream for the coffee.
So does that mean you drink it black? No?
I do. I drink it black, and I like it iced myself, and I actually mix it with some sparkling water, so it's kind of like sparkling water coffee.
So it's sort of a coffee soda?
Yeah.
Oh, what, cold or hot or room temperature?
Yeah, I like it iced. Right here.
Oh, okay, I'll have to check that out. So you drink coffee and you drop the heavy cream. Does that mean you've dropped all dairy food or just that daily heavy cream?
So I tried cutting dairy altogether, and I lost probably about 8 pounds in about 2 weeks, and I wasn't that heavy. This is like after maintaining. I dropped down to about 185 after my main part of my weight loss, and I've stayed there for over 2 years now, within about 5 or 6 pounds. But I was creeping up into the low 90s, and so I thought, well, I'm going to just go more strict, and I cut out the dairy altogether. But I find it's mainly cheese and heavy cream are the two that will start me kind of, not blowing up, but I get a little more inflamed, and I look a little puffier, and I pick up 5 to 8 pounds really if I'm going to start drinking the cream and the cheese. Butter doesn't seem to be a problem.
Okay.
I I brought the butter back, and it was no problem, and I enjoy butter, so for cooking
And do you eat eggs?
I do. Yeah, I eat eggs. I enjoy the yolks more than the whole eggs, but I do eat both.
Have you tried the egg yolk in the coffee? That's a good coffee.
I have actually, and I do enjoy that. And most people go, ooh, but
It's good,
it's
yeah.
not a bad substitute for cream, especially because I drink my coffee cold, so you can blend it in there pretty with a little hand foamer in it.
The other point about coffee and cream is that I like heavy cream in my coffee too. But it does make it, because I have coffee in the morning, but I don't eat till later. So it does kind of maybe switch that little intermittent fasting number when you enjoy a big creamy coffee in the morning.
Yeah.
Almost like a meal. So it does kind of so drinking black coffee probably extends that. I mean, I know that's sort of a big question, what breaks a fast, but I think that
Yeah.
I think it's clear that black coffee certainly doesn't break it fast. So.
Oh yes, yeah. So lately, what I've been trying to do, I'm in Texas, and so we can go to the gyms, and so I go in the mornings before I eat and try to swim for about a half hour and burn up a little glycogen, then get out of there then it's a good time to break my fast, kind of late morning. I don't intentionally really try to fast, but I think when I exercise first thing in the morning, you're just not that hungry right away.
Yes,
so it just
perfect schedule.
happens kind of natural.
Yeah.
And then and it's mostly I usually probably eat about 1.5 pounds of meat a day in a couple of meals, and sometimes some fish, and then I'll supplement in there with eggs or some additional. For my size, I don't eat as much as I see some people eating. I'm 50, just turned 51, so I don't know if maybe because when I was fasting, my metabolism was a little slower, but I do have more or less an office job. But a couple of pounds of food, mostly meat, some eggs, some seafood, a day it's about all my body asks for. So it works.
So you work out fasted, and
Yeah.
you don't eat till in the afternoon, and you've got sort of a window of time where you eat 2 meals.
Yeah. So usually I'll eat my first meal late morning, like 11 o'clock, 11:30.
Uh-huh.
12 to 16 ounces of beef, maybe with an egg on top, and then something similar for dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good deal. It's amazing how satiating it is.
It is. It's very nice. I mean, I used to need to eat quite frequently, and now it's pretty liberating.
Do you add any extra fat?
My wife usually cooks the meat in either some tallow or some butter. This may sound weird, but if I'm getting a little hungry during the day, I might go grab a bite of butter out of the fridge. So I guess that's adding some extra fat. It sounds gross to some people, but I enjoy it.
No, that works. I think I do too.
Yeah.
I do that sometimes myself.
I've experimented a bit with the higher fat macros or the lower fat macros, and I know a lot of people don't like to count macros, and I don't feel like the need to, and I don't limit myself based on the macros. But like I said, I'm a bit nerdy, and I enjoy to track what I eat and see what little changes do and how I feel. So it's more just about documenting and not about like saying I've got these limits or these caps that I'm trying to hit. But for me, have found that really kind of that protein camp, optimizing the protein a little more than the higher fat approach, just sort of works better for me. I follow like Ted Naiman, Gabrielle Lyons, even Marty Kendall, that kind of higher protein, although a carnivore version of it. I know Ted and Marty have some carbs in there. I try not to. I think after losing quite a bit of weight and doing some fasting, like I said, my body will take a little while it kind of fights. It wants to kind of gain that back.
Uh-huh.
The
I mean,
fat cells,
I know that Ted's equation, P greater than E, gives
yes,
you the option of creating, building what your E is either going to be fat or carbohydrate or a combination. So he does
yeah,
sort of leave that open to you.
yeah. So I avoid I avoid the carbs some and the fiber. I don't think I need that. I'll prefer to have my energy in the forms of fat, but usually not so much added fat. It's easy to get enough fat when you're eating meat, ground beef,
Yeah.
and cooked in some tallow or butter. It's pretty easy to get. I probably get 35-40% of my calories from protein, and most of the rest from fat.
Yeah. So it sounds like you mostly eat beef or some ruminant.
Mostly, yeah, I enjoy that the most, and eggs, and then some salmon, some seafood. Included in the beef is beef liver, but really, I'll eat any seafood. I didn't really have any autoimmune issues or gut issues. My issues were really metabolic in nature and about blood sugar and weight gain and things related to that. So, I'm not super strict. If I want to have a little seasonings or things like that on there, then it doesn't seem to cause me a problem. But I don't want to get hooked back on sweet. So I try to avoid, things that are sweet. But yeah, so the higher, a little bit higher protein than maybe some in this diet, and maybe over time that will change. But if I eat too much fat, and maybe the fat that I was eating was the wrong kind, like I said, the cream doesn't do me any favors, and I like it a little too much. So it's pretty easy for cheese or cream to start overeating it.
Yes, it is. It is.
Yeah.
I mean, it is designed for the baby, isn't it?
So I always tell people that it's like, if they always ask on the forums and stuff, can I have milk? It's like, yeah, if you want to gain weight, it's perfect.
I mean, dairy is nice for a condiment. Cheese is
Yes,
nice for a condiment.
it is, and I use it sparingly and understand that it's a splurge, and it's easy to overdo if you're not careful.
Yeah. So it sounds like it was pretty smooth for you. And you mentioned metformin. So it sounds like you're not on those medications now.
Yes. No, I mean, when I first started all of this, I pretty quickly got off of everything. The type 2 diabetes went away within my first doctor visit. And I tried taking that stuff for a couple of months, but once I started the research and learning more and fasting and carnivore, I definitely got off the statins right away, and I got off the metformin. And the first doctor visit, I went back and they said, well, you're not type 2 diabetic anymore, and you're not even pre-diabetic. So I was like, it worked quick.
How long were you on those statins?
Maybe 2 months.
Mm-hmm. That's great. You got off.
Yeah, I got the statins. I was thinking metformin. Actually, unfortunately, the statins I was on for a few years. And I really blame that for a lot of the aches and pains and muscle, just tightness. I lost range of motion. Used to be able to touch my toes easily, and that became a lot more challenging. I've been trying to do, in addition to swimming, I try to take a yoga class a couple times a week, and that's been helping. But I had a lot of like lower back pains and muscle tightness that I've been working out over, gradually. But I do blame the statins for some of that.
So you're off the statins, and the tightness and a lot of the muscle pain is gone.
Oh yes, yeah, it's gotten better, and I would say I don't really have any issues with that. I'm trying to get more flexible, but like I said, I'm over 50. That's normal. I think my flexibility and aches and pains are less than average for my age group. But
good deal. Sounds good. Sounds like a smooth transition.
Yeah. So no medications. Sleep apnea totally gone. Blood pressure totally normalized. Blood sugar normalized. I've had all my labs done. I found a doctor who is keto friendly here in Houston, and had labs done, and they did a lot more labs, inflammation, HSCRP, all the different stuff that we learn about when we're watching, Paul Saladino and some of those guys on there. And everything was fine. Everything was good. I put all my numbers into Dave Feldman's, calculator, and I was in lower third of the risk for, although my LDL is high relative to what they would think is normal, but for our way of eating, it's pretty normal. HDL is good, triglycerides good. So
the triglycerides are the big marker, I think, anyway.
Yeah, and my waist was like 40, 42 before, now to 30. So I think all in all, it's been a hell of a good journey.
It sounds like a good, solid, successful story.
I'm definitely hooked. All the NSVs and non-scale victories, just so exciting and phenomenal. It's just more confidence, with work and social settings. Going on a flight, I can sit in the middle seat and not, feel like I'm pushing into other people's seats. Other activities, just being able to go hike. I went zip lining last weekend over in Austin, and there's weight limits, and if I had been, my old weight, I would have had to sit out, and everyone else could have done it. So it was just things like that make life so much better. And yeah, so I just I try to share. I know some people are like in the social settings, they don't want to share, or talk about meat as much, and especially depending on where you live, it's not the most popular. I live in Texas, so people are a little more friendly to meat here, but I don't care. I like to share it, and I like to tell people, and I feel bad for people that I see that are going through what I went through. And if I can have a chance to say, this is what I'm doing. I did some research, and I learned that a lot of what we're taught may have been influenced by prophets or ideology that doesn't have any basis in science. So people ask you, what happened? What did you do? And I love.
I mean, your health and your appearance sort of speaks volumes, I would think, for them.
And I think it's important to share. And I'm really glad that you guys reached out to me to be able to kind of, maybe we can continue to reach more people that are struggling and that are in that kind of desperate, vicious cycle that so many of us were in. And it's like, there's a way out, and it's good to share it. And I appreciate Dr. Baker doing so much work to spread the word on YouTube, Facebook, Joe Rogan, all these different, MeatRx, trying to fund the studies that and the research, and which I was happy to try to participate in both those. So, thank you for what you guys are doing. And
it's really great, and that's why we do it. So thank you for sharing your story here at MeatRx. It's support. Support is a big help on the carnivore diet. So
yes, yeah, absolutely.
It sounds like, risk one other question.
Sure.
So is there anything else you would want to say to someone who was like considering trying that Meaty diet?
I would just say jump in and try it. It's people have a lot of fear and concerned, and change is always hard, but this is not eating anything new. All of us eat meat for the most part, so here you're just cutting out a few things that, and it doesn't hurt to try. So I would just hope people that feel desperate, that have tried other things, that really feel like they're at the end of their rope, give it a shot. It really isn't that bad. We're eating really good food, and burger patties with maybe a slice of cheese or some bacon. there's a lot worse diet food out there, and it certainly doesn't hurt to give it a try.
Yeah.
And look at all these testimonies of people that have healed their health issues, and you don't really see too many angry or pissed off carnivore people. We're all pretty chill and relaxed, and that should tell people something.
Yeah. It's getting that nutritional support.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, we're pretty fortunate to have found a diet that is so luxurious and delicious and nutrient dense.
That's right.
And I'm glad you found it too.
Yeah, thank you. Me too.
Well, thank you, Jeff. And thanks again for taking the time to share with our listeners. And
absolutely. Thank you for reaching out. And I'm happy to share with anyone that will listen. So thanks.
Carney on.
Yeah, all right. You too.